Welcome back to the channel. Today's video is how to keep your Harris hawk. We're going to look at housing and some do's and don'ts and show you really by example, and this video was by demand of one of our viewers, so I hope you enjoy it. So we're going to look at housing. We're in the UK. This will be suitable for many other parts of the world, but obviously North America, parts of North America, it gets so much colder there in the winter than it does here, and so much hotter. So we're going to look at the mews, and the mews where you keep your bird. That's what a mews is, where you keep your hawk. Now, outside, our Harris hawks are weathered out on high ring perches. I much prefer them to bow perches. They're much less tangleable, and the bird's a bit higher off the ground, which gives it a bit of exercise as it jumps up and down, and also it feels more relaxed. The birds don't really want to be on the ground. So here's some of the things we're going to sort of along the way show you some of the things, do's and don'ts. I prefer braided tethering equipment, jesses, braided leashes, braided extenders, and a small Sampo style inline swivel. That's what I prefer. We're going to show you some different things. This is at the Falconry Centre, where the birds are never ever left out unattended at any time. Very different to many personal situations. So have a look at this guy. Nigel here, he's wearing braided bullet jesses and a quick release system. Some birds possibly could quickly release them themselves. Never ever had a problem with decent quality, top quality bullet jess system. And these simply slip out and you can put your flying jesses in. I wouldn't recommend anything like this for a beginner. Stick to braided jesses, preferably with an extender and a loop leash for sure. We'll show you some more about that in a second. Also, have a look at the perch. And as I've said, I prefer the high ring perch, but the perch top's really important. Now, most ring perches and bow perches come with a moulded rubber top perch area for the bird's feet. It's okay, but it's not ideal. You cannot beat proper AstroTurf. There's a problem. If you use proper AstroTurf on a ring perch or a bow perch, it can foul the leash and the bird can get hung up. The rubber top they come with is the best system because it allows the leash to slip over. Personally, if you're putting your birds out on a rubber top perch, when they go away in the mews at night, put them away on an AstroTurf top perch. Make sure they're not on these rubber perches all the time. They can get corns and sore feet from that rubber perching material. So we're just going to give you little tips and tricks and a bit of our knowledge as we go along so you can create the best housing for your hawk. Proper AstroTurf is the best stuff for their feet by far, but it can tangle on a bow perch or a ring perch. Let's have a look in this mews here. So this is as simple as you can get for a safe quarters or a night quarters for your Harris hawk. Come and have a look inside. It needs to be fox proof. They can't dig under. If you come in here, it doesn't get any simpler than this. You've got a large space, know where the bird can hit its wings. That's critically important, especially with a young hawk. And you've put your bow perch in the ground in your mews, and the mews are covered with a few inches of gravel or sand. We'll talk about that. Let's have a look. So we've got the birds low down, which means if it baits and it's a young bird, it can't really hurt itself. It's not crashing down from a height. It also means in a northern hemisphere cold winter, the bird is perched within the frost layer. Up off the ground, you're away from the frost layer. Harris hawks come from relatively hot, mostly dry climates. They're not designed to be damp and cold. If you put your Harris hawk away anywhere with damp or wet wings, it's very likely to get wingtip edema, frostbite of the wing, killing the flesh. The feathers on the wings will fall out. It'll never fly properly again, and it may die. Always put your hawk away dry. The downside of this system is the hawk is low down on a very cold night. Not ideal. Gravel. 20mm gravel. These hawks, very, very calm. They work in an experienced day environment. Ironically, they have incredibly razor sharp talons, although they're never used for hunting. A hunting hawk that baits a lot The gravel will dull the tips of its talons. It will catch way less quarry. They need to be razor sharp. You come to experience just how, you come to know just how important that is with experience. Gravel can blunt talons. Negative. Positive, you can pick up discarded feathers, coughed up pellets. You can hose through the gravel and rake to clean it, and you can also use something like F10 or a weak Virkon solution to sterilise the area. So it's actually easy to keep clean in quite a healthy way. Let's look at some other kinds of Mews for your hawks that have other pros and other cons. Come with us. Okay, let's have a look at a slightly upgraded way of a similar Mews than the one we first saw. Instead of a bow perch that can still cause tangles, and it can allow the hawk to have two arcs of movement off either side of the bow. A half bow design, which you've got to manufacture yourself, a half bow design bolted to the wall sideways has many advantages. Number one, the ring doesn't need to pass over the bow, so you can definitely use proper AstroTurf for that evening and bad weather perching. Much better than a rubber top, because the ring nearly always is down here. Doesn't need to pass over. The bird sits long ways, so when it slices, when it poos, it's got more distance. You don't want poo going on the walls of your Mews. It just makes mess, makes it harder to clean. A half bow design, this end in here is concreted in, bolted to the wall. I use it for all of our eagles, and I've used it for various red tails and harrisocks. It's a really good design. Just scale it down. By the way, this is proper AstroTurf. As it wears and gets chewed around, you can take it off using cable ties, fit new AstroTurf there. This is why you need proper AstroTurf, and not nice soft squishy AstroTurf. That's not what you want. AstroTurf has quite rigid plastic tendrils and fronds that work like this. Every time your bird moves its feet, it's putting its weight on a different pressure point. Bumblefoot, one of the worst foot diseases birds of prey can get, is nearly extinct thanks to people using AstroTurf. You're not getting any pressure sores. Every time it moves, the bird's foot is putting weight on a slightly different part of its sole. Critically important. Have a look at this though. We looked at 20mm gravel in the previous harrisocks Mews. Zeus the golden eagle at the moment, he's on sand. Lots of people use sand. It's got many disadvantages. The only one advantage, realistically, is if your young hawk baits, it's relatively soft as a landing. We use soft AstroTurf as part of our setup, so as the birds bait forward, they're actually landing on a soft footing. They're not damaging their talons or blunting their talons at all on this soft substrate here. Disadvantages of sand. You can't wash it through with a hose and disinfectant. Well, you can, but it just makes a complete mess of it. The hawk gets covered in wet sand. It's disgusting stuff. If you don't change it regularly, because we've just discussed you can't really wash it through, if you don't change it regularly, it's a haven for bacteria to build up, because you're not really getting rid of the poo. If you just rake it around dry, looks okay. The poo stays there. I hate sand, really. We've given it a try here, simply because there was some here when I moved him up here from living at home with me. Do the advantages outweigh the disadvantages? No, not really. It doesn't really blunt their talons. It's a soft landing. Other than that, if you're tethering the birds over it as a substrate, I don't really like it. At least gravel you can wash through, rake over and disinfect. There's an in-between. Nice round 10mm pea gravel. It's reasonably soft landing and it's still cleanable. I don't really like sand, but the half bow design, topped with proper AstroTurf, fantastic indoor Mews tethering system. Now, let's get away from the noise and talk about another option. So I've looked at two different Mews options. The failure of both of those in a cold climate is you're tethering the hawk close to the ground. So really cold weather, that hook is sitting pretty much in the frost layer, and realistically, if you can get them a bit above that, all the better. They're kept dry, they're kept draft proof, they can be kept warm and heated, and if needs be, not too bad at all. But there are other options. I've been keeping my Harris hawks on a loop perch design, which for the last 10 years has worked magnificently for my Harris hawks. They're completely sheltered indoors and they're way off the ground, about 4 feet off the ground, so above the frost layer. Sadly, I can't personally show you that design right now because none of the birds here at the Falconry Centre are kept like that, and my birds have now all moved to the Falconry Centre, so I'm going to ask my son Kyle to send a little bit of footage in of how he keeps his red-tailed hawk on a loop perch design, so you can see how that works. Benefits are you can clean it out and remove all the feces every day. They've gone, you're not washing them through, you're not raking them around, you're getting rid of all the excrement on a daily basis, and the bird is off the ground and can be kept warm, and you can install it into a reasonable sized shed or in the corner of an indoor or outbuilding. When I say indoor, I'm not talking of your house, no way, but it's a really versatile concept. For now, hopefully you've enjoyed seeing that. I'm going to show you a completely different option of how to keep your Harris hawk. We're going to look at a Freeloft design. Come on. You see her?
Mm-hmm.
Probably one of the better options to keep your trained Harris hawk, not your young hawk in training, your trained Harris hawk, is Freelofted. Now, you can see Zara in there. She's got a small netted window. She's in a Falconry Centre environment, and it gives her an awful lot of privacy because she's not part of the Falconry Centre team. She's a falconry bird, a hunting hawk. She's got a lot of privacy, but she can still watch the world go by. It's an intelligent species. They need to see stuff going on for sure. It's a netted window, bounce netting. Works fine for Zara, but let's show you a much better design of a Freeloft for your falconry Harris hawk, and I'll tell you why the Freeloft can be the best design possible. Let's go and look at a jerkin, a male gerfalcon, to look at a design of Freeloft that's easy to make, easy to design, works fantastically. Have a look at this. This is a Freeloft design. A Freeloft essentially is a modified aviary design to keep your Harris hawk in. Now we're borrowing a rather sexy gerfalcon, a jerkin, a male ger, and I've got to say that is one gorgeous hawk. He's not ours, but the design of Pen, Avery, Freeloft, Mews is there for us to talk about. This is what you really want to do for your Harris hawk. You want a solid roof. Now a lot of that can be light panels, clear panels to let light in. Don't be tricked, fooled or led into thinking a roof that's half covered and half open mesh is better for your Harris hawk, because here in the UK this is what's going to happen. The winter's going to come around. You're going to get a sunny day in the winter, nice crisp day, bit of sunshine, and then it's going to turn and we're going to get a heavy shower in the afternoon, and your Harris hawk, which has evolved for hundreds of thousands if not millions of years in a dry, arid, desert-like environment, it's going to think, oh lovely, a shower. When it's showery, we don't get this much in the desert, let's have our wings out, let's soak that rain up and have a good shower. 4 hours later, in the winter in the UK, it's -5. Your bird's soaking wet, damp. It's going to get frostbitten wings, wingtip edema. That bird is finished, if not dead. Its flying career is over. Or it's going to lose much more weight overnight, burning calories to keep warm, shivering, freezing. Don't do it. The bird does not know best. It does not know that if it showers on a winter's afternoon, it's going to freeze at night. It doesn't equate that. It's not evolved like that, despite it being bred and born here in the UK. Solid roof. Keep that bird nice and dry. And instead of the mesh front or the netted front you saw Zara, you can put in a bigger window. And this is what falconers have learned a long time ago for Freelofting their birds. Bars. These ones are plastic conduit. You can make them out of iron rods. It's entirely up to you. You can make them out of decent sized bamboo canes. It doesn't care, the bird. These bars mean the bird won't fly at the front when it sees you. You've trained it, don't forget. You've conditioned it to realise that the best place to be in its whole life is with you, out hunting. So as soon as you walk down your garden, it flies to the front. It wants to be with you, catch your attention. It grabs hold of the wire mesh with its feet, and its primary feathers, its beautiful tail feathers, all go through the mesh. It's scrabbling around, and it damages and destroys those important, beautiful flying feathers. It doesn't work if you use bars, because when the bird lands on the bars, it just slides down, quickly learns it's pointless. And you also increase that amazing design by using a shelf perch here, just inside the bars, on the window ledge, if you like, inside. Put some astroturf on it. This one has soft astroturf at the front, proper astroturf at the back, so its feet are getting different pressure points and textures as it goes along throughout its day. It comes to the front, it doesn't hang on the wire mesh, it lands on its shelf perch and gets your attention that way without doing any damage to those feathers. It can come and sunbathe at the front there. It can go to the back in the shade. It can have its bath in there. You don't want to litter it with perches and branches. It doesn't matter how big your Harris Hawk's aviary is. It's going to spend nearly all of its time sitting there, flying and sitting there. It's not going to fly around getting exercise. It gets exercise maybe 5, 6 to 7 days a week with you, doesn't it? You take it training, you do exercise, you go hunting with it. It's its bedroom, it's its chill out place, it's its hotel room. A couple of good, well thought out perches. Hopefully if you make your pen, your aviary, your Freeloft big enough, you can put the perches far enough from the wall that your hawk isn't slicing and pooing all down the wall. If it does, and you've not designed it quite right, use some damp-proof sheeting stapled on the back. It's easy to hose down and keep nice and clean. There's another great reason the Freeloft is the best way to keep your Harris Hawk. It's not the best way to keep your newly trained or your in-training Harris Hawk, but your seasoned, relaxed Harris Hawk, this is the best way. You go on holiday, your hawk is tethered in a Mews setup like we've already shown you. Who's going to look after it? Because unless you can find a really experienced falconer, no one else can look after it. If it gets tangled up, they don't know what to do, your neighbours. If they try and look after it and put it out to weather with its nice sunshine perch in the sun and a nice bath in the daytime for you and back away in its Mews at night, it's going to slip through their hands. Your neighbours aren't falconers. The bird will be lost, tangled up in a tree. Holidays and falconry are difficult to achieve unless you know another really good falconer that will look after your hawk. With Freeloft design, you can put a food hatch in, a secret food hatch, with a food tray underneath, and anyone can defrost some food and pop a measured amount of food through on a daily basis and have a look visually to check that bird is okay. It's a much better system if you've got to leave the care of the bird down to a non-falconer or an inexperienced falconer while you're not there. Now and again we all get sick. Falconers just carry on. Now and again we get so sick we physically just can't get out of bed and look after anything. The Freeloft design, your wife, your husband, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your kids can at the very least feed that hawk for you. So have a think about the different systems, and I would urge anyone to progress as they train their hawks and their hawks become much more relaxed and bomb-proof. Progress to think about turning your Mews space into a Freeloft aviary, because it's easy for the Harris Hawk to work that out in its brain, understand, and it will work perfectly well from its Freeloft, just like my hawk, my son's hawk Zara does. Different ways of keeping your Harris Hawk that you can adapt to your hawk, to what you have at home, your environment, and to how you want to go about things in the space you've got. Key things to how to keep your Harris Hawk. The bird needs to be happy and healthy, top priority. It needs to be able to fit into your lifestyle, and your lifestyle's got to fit into your bird's lifestyle, and you've got to enjoy your falconry. Bottom line is, how you house your hawk, if you can keep it happy and healthy, all is good, and it's down to personal preference. But do think about, with a Harris Hawk, the cold winter nights. Really important. Never put a Harris Hawk away damp or wet in the winter. We hair dry, seriously, we hair dry all of our Harris Hawks before evening time in the winter, or if it's a really cold day, as soon as they've gotten damp. you will regret it. Don't be lazy, don't skip it, and make sure your hairdryer do not have Teflon elements that will gas and poison and kill your Harrisawk. Often the cheapest hairdryers are the best for this purpose, but do your research. Teflon elemented hairdryers give off Teflon gas. It will kill any bird in the close vicinity, but don't put those Harrisawks away wet. That's it. Hope you enjoyed that. How to keep your Harrisawk. We looked a little bit at housing, do's and don'ts, different options. I think it's time really. The next one will have to be 5 Facts Friday, reasons for getting a Harrisawk. Watch this space.